Imagine playing the latest games with graphics so real you could reach out and touch them. And all while enjoying buttery smooth frame rates. That's the promise of NVIDIA's new GeForce RTX 5000 series. And today we're taking a deep dive into what makes these GPUs tick.
Yeah, that's right. We've got a mountain of info to unpack for you today. Announcements, specs, expert analysis, and even some heated debates from the passionate folks over on Reddit.
So by the end of this, you'll not only know the ins and outs of the RTX 5000 series, but also understand why NVIDIA is making such a big bet on AI for the future of gaming.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating is that NVIDIA is claiming to deliver this massive leap in performance, not just by throwing more hardware at the problem, but by blending AI and software innovations into the mix.
Okay, let's break this down. First off, let's talk about the heart of these new GPUs, the Blackwell architecture. What's so special about it?
Well, for starters, it's packed with a mind-boggling 92 billion transistors. To put that into perspective, that's like having a city full of tiny switches, all working together to process information at lightning speed.
Whoa, that's a lot of transistors. But what does that actually mean for gamers like me?
So think of it this way. More transistors means more processing power. And that translates to things like more realistic lighting effects, more detailed game worlds, and smoother gameplay. Especially when we're talking about demanding features like ray tracing.
Ah, ray tracing, the holy grail of realistic graphics. So this new architecture is designed to make ray tracing even better.
Absolutely. The Blackwell architecture features new RT cores. These are specifically designed to handle those complex calculations required for ray tracing. This means you'll be able to enjoy those realistic reflections and shadows without sacrificing performance.
That's awesome. But let's talk about the feature that has everyone buzzing, DLSS 4 with multi-frame generation. This tech is promising up to 8 times the frame rates compared to traditional rendering. Is that even possible?
It sounds like magic, right? But DLSS 4 is actually based on some clever AI tricks. Imagine DLSS 4 as an AI artist. It can analyze previous frames of your game and then paint in extra frames to make everything look incredibly smooth.
So it's like having an AI assistant that's constantly working behind the scenes to make my games look and feel amazing.
Exactly. And that's why NVIDIA is so excited about DLSS 4. They believe it can fundamentally change the way we experience games. But of course, there are some questions and concerns.
Yeah, I've seen some folks on Reddit talking about potential downsides like increased latency and weird visual artifacts, especially when DLSS 4 is generating all those extra frames. Are those valid concerns?
They are, and we'll definitely dive into those a bit later, especially when we talk about the RTX 5070, which relies heavily on DLSS 4 to hit those impressive performance targets.
Speaking of the RTX 5070, this card is causing quite a stir with its surprisingly low price of $549. NVIDIA is even claiming it can deliver performance comparable to the previous generation's flagship, the RTX 4090. Is that even realistic?
It's a bold claim for sure. And as we mentioned earlier, that claim is heavily dependent on how well DLSS 4 performs in real-world scenarios. We'll need to see if it can live up to the hype without introducing noticeable lag or compromising image quality.
And let's not forget the topic that seems to be dividing the internet. The RTX 5070's 12 GB of VRAM. Some people are saying it's a major step backward, while others argue that it's still plenty for most gamers. What's your take on this?
Well, 12 GB is definitely on the lower end for a modern GPU, especially when you consider how demanding games are becoming. And we've seen some early reports suggesting that certain games are already pushing past 8 GB of VRAM usage.
So could 12 GB become a bottleneck for gamers down the line, especially those who want to play at higher resolutions or with all the graphical settings cranked up?
That's a legitimate concern, and it's something you'll want to consider carefully before investing in an RTX 5070. But let's not jump to conclusions just yet. We need to analyze the arguments for and against higher VRAM, and look at specific games where VRAM limitations might become an issue.
Sounds like we have a lot to unpack. I'm already eager to learn more, and I'm sure our listeners are too. So let's move on to the next part of our deep dive, where we'll delve into the VRAM debate and explore some other exciting features, like RTX neural shaders. Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of NVIDIA's RTX 5000 series. We left off talking about the RTX 5070's VRAM, which seems to be a hot topic among PC gamers.
Yeah, it's understandable, really. You want to be sure you're getting a card that can handle the latest games without any hiccups. especially with the price of GPUs these days.
Exactly. So let's break down this VRAM situation. The RTX 5070 comes with 12 GPUs, which some people are saying is a bit low considering the 5070 Ti has 16. Is this something to be concerned about?
It's a good question, and the answer kind of depends on what kind of gamer you are. If you're mostly playing at 1080p or even 1440p and don't plan on upgrading for a few years, 12 gigas might be perfectly adequate for your needs.
But what about those gamers who want to crank up the settings to the max, play at 4K resolution, or future-proof their rig as much as possible?
That's where things get interesting. We've seen games like Star Citizen, for example, gobbling up over 10 gigabytes of VRAM at 4K resolution with high-quality textures. If this trend continues, 12 gigabytes could start to feel limiting sooner rather than later.
I see your point, especially since even the PS5 and Xbox Series X consoles have 16 gigabytes of shared memory. If consoles can deliver impressive visuals with that much memory, shouldn't PC games be able to do the same?
It's not that simple, unfortunately. PC games often push graphical boundaries much further than their console counterparts, especially when you factor in mods and higher resolutions.
Ah, good point. And then there's ray tracing, and those fancy global illumination effects, which are becoming more common in games these days. Don't those features also demand more VRAM?
Absolutely. Those technologies require a lot of memory to store all those light bounces and complex calculations. So while 12 gigabytes might be enough for today's games, it's definitely a question worth considering. If you're planning to hold on to your GPU for the next few years.
So for those listeners who are feeling a bit uncertain about the 12 GB VRAM on the 5070, would you recommend stepping up to the 5070 Ti, or even the 5080 with its 16?
It really depends on your budget and priorities. If you're comfortable spending a bit more for peace of mind and future-proofing, the 5070 Ti might be a better option.
But if budget is a major concern and you're not planning on pushing the graphical envelope too far, the 5070 might still be a solid choice.
Exactly. It's all about finding that sweet spot between performance, price, and your own individual gaming needs.
That makes sense. But let's move on from the VRAM debate for now and talk about another exciting feature of the RTX 5000 series, RTX neural shaders. This sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
It is pretty cutting-edge technology for sure.
Yeah.
Essentially, neural shaders are AI algorithms that are embedded directly into the GPU, allowing them to perform tasks like texture compression and advanced lighting effects in real time.
So it's like having a tiny AI brain working alongside the GPU to make everything look even more amazing.
That's a great way to put it. One of the key benefits of neural shaders is that they can compress textures by up to 7 times, which frees up precious VRAM and allows for even more detailed game worlds.
Wow, 7 times. That's incredible. So could neural shaders potentially solve the VRAM concerns we were just talking about?
It's possible,
Yeah.
but it's still early days. We need to see how developers implement this technology and whether it lives up to its potential. But the early results are promising, especially if you've seen NVIDIA's Zora tech demo. It showcases some mind-blowing lighting effects using neural shaders.
I haven't seen that demo yet, but now I'm definitely intrigued. So from a gamer's perspective, what kind of benefits can we expect to see from neural shaders in the near future?
Well, aside from more detailed textures and better lighting, neural shaders could also lead to more realistic character animations and even entirely new gameplay mechanics that we haven't even thought of yet.
It sounds like neural shaders could be the game changer, but I imagine there are also some potential downsides. Have any developers expressed concerns about this technology?
Some developers have voiced concerns about potential limitations in their artistic control, worrying that relying on AI might lead to unexpected visual glitches or limit their ability to achieve a specific aesthetic.
That's a fair point. It's important to find that balance between artistic vision and the capabilities of the technology, but it's clear that NVIDIA is betting big on AI with the RTX 5000 series, and it will be fascinating to see how it all plays out.
Absolutely. And speaking of NVIDIA's focus on AI, let's not forget that the RTX 5000 series isn't just for gamers. It also brings some exciting new tools for content creators, thanks to NVIDIA Studio.
Oh yeah, I've heard some buzz about that. Can you tell us more about what NVIDIA Studio offers?
Well, for starters, it includes some impressive AI-powered upgrades for live streamers. There's a new AI agent from Streamlabs. It can act as your virtual sidekick, helping you manage chat, control your scene, and even troubleshoot technical issues.
That sounds incredibly helpful. So it's like having a personal AI assistant dedicated to making your live stream smoother and more engaging.
Exactly. And there's more. The new NVENC encoder now supports the 4.2.2 Pro-grade color format, which delivers a significant speed increase for video encoding compared to traditional software encoders.
So this is a huge boon for video editors, streamers, and anyone who works with high-resolution video.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the improved encoding quality for HEVC and AV1 codecs and the new AV1 Ultra Quality mode, which boosts encoding efficiency even further. These advancements are game changers for content creators who demand the highest quality output.
Wow, it sounds like NVIDIA has really gone all in on AI and creative tools with this new generation of GPUs. But let's shift gears back to gaming for a moment and talk about those concerns we mentioned earlier regarding DLSS 4 potentially introducing latency. Does NVIDIA have any answers for those worries?
I do. NVIDIA has introduced Reflex 2. It builds upon their previous Reflex technology to minimize system latency and make gameplay feel incredibly responsive.
So is Reflex 2 just a refinement of the original technology, or does it bring something entirely new to the table?
It's a major step forward, thanks to a new feature called Frame Warp. Imagine this. You're in a tense firefight, and every millisecond counts. Frame Warp analyzes your mouse input and updates the rendered game frame right before it's displayed on your screen.
So it's almost like predicting your next move and adjusting the visuals to match. That sounds pretty mind-blowing.
It is. This technology can reduce system latency by up to 75%, giving you a significant edge in fast-paced competitive games where reaction time is everything.
That sounds incredible, but I'm sure some gamers are skeptical. Are there any concerns about Frame Warp introducing visual artifacts or other unintended consequences?
Of course, there are always concerns when new technologies are introduced, and we'll need to wait for independent benchmarks and real-world testing to see how Frame Warp performs in practice. But if it delivers on its promises, it could revolutionize competitive gaming.
It's definitely an exciting development, and it seems like NVIDIA is leaving no stone unturned in their quest to enhance the gaming experience with the RTX 5000 series. But there's one last question that's been lingering in my mind, and I'm sure it's on our listeners' minds as well. What does all of this mean for the future of gaming? Is this reliance on AI a temporary stepping stone, or a fundamental shift that will shape the future of the industry?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And that's precisely what we'll be exploring in the final part of our deep dive. So stay tuned, because things are about to get really interesting.
Welcome back. We've covered a lot of ground, from Blackwell's mind-boggling transistor count to the potential of neural shaders. And
the heat and VRAM debate.
it's been quite a journey, and now we arrive at the big question. What does all this, what does all this point to for the future of gaming?
Exactly. Is NVIDIA's heavy focus on AI just a phase? Or is it a sign of things to come? Will AI become as crucial as raw processing power? Well, it's hard to say for certain, but the signs are pointing towards a future where AI plays an even bigger role. If features like DLSS 4 and neural shaders really take off and become more refined, we could see a fundamental shift in how games are designed and optimized.
That's a fascinating thought, but I've also heard some developers express concerns about becoming too reliant on AI. They worry that it might lead to lazy optimization practices, with developers assuming AI will magically fix performance issues.
Yeah, that's a valid concern, and it's something we need to watch closely. AI should be a tool to enhance the gaming experience, not a crutch to cover up for poor development practices.
So it's all about finding that balance, right?
Yeah.
Using AI strategically to push boundaries without sacrificing the core principles of good game design and optimization.
Precisely. And that's where you, the listener, come in. Be an informed gamer. Don't just...
Exactly. Figure out what's important to you. Do prioritize raw performance, visual fidelity, or future-proofing. Once you know what you're looking for, you can make a more informed decision about which GPU is right for you.
And remember, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. If the RTX 5070 with its 12 gigabytes of VRAM meets your needs and budget, go for it. But if you're aiming for the absolute best and want to be prepared for whatever the future holds, maybe the 5070 Ti or 5080 would be a better fit.
It's all about making choices that align with your individual gaming style and preferences. And that's really what the deep dive is all about, empowering you with knowledge so you can make those choices with confidence.
And as we wrap up our deep dive into the RTX 5000 series, let's take a moment to imagine what the future holds. Picture a world where game developers and AI researchers work hand in hand, pushing the boundaries of interactive entertainment.
Imagine games that learn your playstyle, adapt to your preferences, and even challenge you in ways you never thought possible.
Games that blur the lines between reality and fantasy, creating truly immersive and thought-provoking experiences. A world where AI enhances human creativity, leading to a golden age of gaming.
It's an exciting future to think about, and the RTX 5000 series might just be the first step on that journey.
So stay curious, keep exploring,
Anyway.
and remember, The future of gaming is in our hands.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the world of NVIDIA's RTX 5000 series GPUs. We hope you found this journey informative and engaging. Until next time, happy gaming.